Like the first time I got on stage and somebody asked me like, oh, it's your birthday, it was my birthday and whatever. And they're like, what's your wish? And I was like, oh, I wish my mother-in-law was dead.
Thank you so much for doing this with us, Zarna. It's amazing having you, a human of New York, at Humans of Bombay. How does it feel?
Well, first of all, namaste. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a human of Bombay and a human of New York. And it feels great to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing because like we've been doing so much research and we've read the trajectory of your career, which we can't wait to get into. But I want to start with this. A lot of people say that Americans laugh at something that they never even understood. So how does that make you feel?
I mean, I think things are universal. If they're laughing, they're laughing at something that's connecting in their heart.
Yeah.
That the words don't necessarily have to match up. They know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like if a mom is like standing and looking at her son, she's probably yelling at him.
Yeah.
And you don't have to articulate the words even.
Yeah.
Like everybody on earth can imagine what they're yelling at about.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that it's the great unifier, the laughter.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were growing up, you said that I am a human of Bombay. But when you were growing up in Bombay, in your childhood, in your formative years, did you ever think that this is where I'm going to land up being?
No. Oh my God. I'm living my own nightmare. I don't want my kids to be doing this. Are you kidding? I'm telling every mother in Bombay, do not let your kids do comedy. There is no money in it. It's very difficult. I'll do it. But don't let them, help them buy tickets to come watch me.
And you didn't obviously see that this is something that would happen, but obviously those years would have shaped you to becoming the human that you are today. So I want to ask you and dive a little bit deeper into what was it like? Like, what were you like growing up? What was your childhood like?
So I am one of those kids that actually loved school.
Yeah.
I loved going to school. I loved reading. I was very competitive. I wanted to do well. But I was born in a family that didn't necessarily care much about the schooling.
Yeah.
So I was that kid who fought to get an education and to stay on the track to keep the education.
Yeah.
I actually loved going, learning about everything in the world.
Yeah.
I seem to have an unsatiable curiosity, and that continues even today.
Yeah.
But not everybody's on board with that. My dad wasn't.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't need to know anymore. You're good. Yeah. So that was a big part of my life. But the thing about living in Bombay, a city this vibrant, is that whether you want it or not, the education is coming to you.
Yeah, that's true.
There's so much going on at all times.
Yeah.
You cannot be ignorant in this town. It's not possible, even if you tried.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you said that my father said, no, that's enough. You don't need to study. What age were you? And it takes a very fierce spirit, even back in the day, to stand up to that and say, no, I want to study. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a tragic set of circumstances in my family. I'm the youngest of 4. Yeah. And I think my dad was done parenting. I mean, actually, I don't have to think it. He told me so. Yeah. He's like, I'm done parenting. Yeah. You need to get married. And as a parent today, I completely understand the exhaustion. Yeah. I don't even have a 4th kid, but if I had a 4th kid and my life was difficult, I might throw them out of the window. I'm like, I don't, so relax everybody. But if I was there, it could happen because it's tough. And he really was like, with good intentions, wanted to, quote unquote, settle my life.
And how old were you at this point?
15 and a half.
Wow.
But it's settle in India, you know what that means. That's a very Indian concept, first of all.
Yeah.
That somehow the woman needs to be settled.
Yeah.
And I was like very uncomfortable being unsettled.
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable. Like I watched all the American sitcoms. I grew up reading Archie's comics.
Yeah.
You know the comic books?
Yeah, of course.
I was like, no one's getting married ever. And everybody's happy.
Yeah. So why is this such a
big deal in my life?
Yeah. But like backtracking to what you just said, earlier, is that there was a series of tragic events, one of which was that you lost your mother very early on. I think you were 14 at the time. How did that kind of impact you? And then to go through this where, you are being quote unquote coerced or been given an ultimatum that you got to get married. How do these two very contrasting but still very definitive events in your life kind of shape that time?
I never expected my world to fall apart the way it did.
Yeah.
I never expected him to actually mean you have to get married or you have to get out.
Yeah.
Like, we both were kind of in a little disbelief because he was like, she's going to come around
Yeah.
any minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's going to break any minute. He's going to realize how absurd he's being.
Yeah.
But that went on for so long
Yeah.
that the more time passes when you disagree with somebody, the less likely the resolution, which is exactly where we were.
Yeah. And what about your siblings? How would they, because you were the youngest of 4.
Yeah.
Can you paint me a little bit of a picture of those equations, right? Because you're usually protective of the youngest.
Yes. And I would have died without my siblings, without a question. My sister lived in America and she pretty much was like, you can come and live here with me. I had 2 brothers in India who literally kept me afloat in every way, like quite literally. If I was stuck, I needed a place to sleep for the night or took me in for a few months, helped me with everything that a parent should have done.
Yeah.
My brother did for me.
Yeah.
And, my other brother did for me. So I've been very lucky. I mean, really very lucky because without them, I'm not sure I could have stayed my course.
Yeah. And coming back, so you're this 15 and a half-year-old girl who's decided that, okay, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm not getting married. So if my only option is to leave, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
What next? What happened next? You packed your bags and then?
Back then, you used to learn in school, America is a democracy.
Yeah.
Like, the people of America elect their leaders, and then whatever they say to their leaders, they have to do. That's what we learned in school.
Yeah.
So I was like, my sisters are people in America.
Yeah.
But she's telling you, bring my little sister here. What is the problem?
Yeah, like, I have to go.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're that naive and young and almost, or honestly, in retrospect, dumb.
Yeah.
I really believe that she's a people there. What is the problem? Like, just send me the ticket, somebody,
Yeah.
So it was a journey of figuring it out, but I just kept at it. I was pretty adamant that I'm not going to let it go and that something will open up for me.
Yeah.
And I got admission into a college that was really close to her house.
Yeah.
Back then, foreign students was a rare thing. It's not what it was today.
Yeah.
So in a small college in Ohio, they were thrilled to have an international student.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we're going to help you figure this out. And between my sister, them, and me, and my dogged persistence in India of wanting to get out, we found a way.
Yeah. Humor is such an important part of your life. It always has been. Was it also in any way a coping mechanism at any point back in the day? When things like this were happening, right?
100%. And I know that as a comic, that's true for all comics pretty much.
Yeah.
We all come from difficult, broken circumstances.
Right.
And our brain is a little bit like broken because we react to those circumstances with weird things, inappropriate comments that we hope as we grow in comedy, that we hope that's funny.
Correct.
And not totally offensive.
Yeah.
Even though it can be.
Even though it is.
Yeah, it can be. But yeah, of course, that event, I was part of a Patel Convention.
Please narrate this incident because I feel like the world should know
Yeah.
that this has happened to, or somewhere in India.
It's happening today.
Yeah.
No, actually, that was in the US. That was not in
the
India.
US.
It was in New Jersey.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So even after I went to America, I was getting an education. The marriage thing, see, if you're an Indian woman, the marriage thing is like looming. It's like a sword. Like, when is it gonna fall on you?
It doesn't matter which part of the world you're in.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what else you've done. You could be a heart surgeon. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what all you've done. Someone is going to be like, when are you getting married?
Yeah. Or I will find you.
And you hear it so much that you ask yourself, when am I going to get married? Yes, I see it in your eyes. So when I was in the US, there was a Patel Convention
Yeah.
in New Jersey. I was living with my sister.
Hmm.
And, my sister was like, why don't we not do it the way dad would have done it? But like, just go and meet some guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, I'm not Patel. So that is a fun big problem. And then, like, I don't know what the setup is at all. Like, what do? You meet people and marry them there?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, some people did.
Really?
They met that day and married in the evening.
No.
Yes, in New Jersey. Can you believe?
No.
Yes. The convention was in the temple. So I was like, okay, I guess, I was like, this sounds a little better than the situation that my dad was presenting.
Let me go suss it.
Let me go figure out what it was,
Yeah.
and my sister like worked so hard to convince them that we were Patel adjacent. We were close enough.
It's Mehta and it's Patel.
We were Gujarati, he was like, my sister made up all kinds of, she's like, we are the Christopher Columbus of the Gujaratis. I don't know. We found our way here. The others are still coming. You have to take her. I don't know. Anything she was making up. But at the time, they wanted younger girls.
Yeah.
A lot of the convention was older girls, older men.
Yeah.
So they were like, all right, she's young enough and she does speak Gujarati. So like, we'll squeeze her in and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And God, if I tell you, it was brutal. Like our culture on steroids in one hall with parents and a pamphlet. Holy, like, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, there was a booklet with everybody's statistics and biodata that people got.
When you entered?
No, to be part of the convention. And the candidates sat closer to the stage, but their parents sat around them in the same room.
Oh my God.
So if like a really pretty girl walked up on stage, everybody flipped the page, like page 44, like this girl, what is she doing? And like, how tall is she and her weight?
We want her.
Right?
Yeah.
No, literally, it's like you could see the glee in the parents' eyes, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then if the girl was not attractive or whatever, like the silence in the room, like nothing, no page is turning, and and that, of course, I went up after Miss India New Jersey. No, thank you for that, God. You know what I mean? It's like God had just decided, like, let me play games with her. So I'm like up there after Miss India New Jersey. Like literally the room they have worked so hard trying to find her that they're like, okay, we're going to sit this next one out while I'm up on stage.
And did you meet any interesting men at Patel Convention? So
like everything in life, there were 4 or 5 guys that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
They were tall, they were the doctor, or whatever, the stats. And then everybody else was kind of milling around with parents trying to broker.
Yeah.
So to watch the parents brokering in real life, they're like, look, you're not going to get the doctor. She's 5'1". You're not going to get the doctor. But my son is an accountant. So it's okay if he's bald, she's wearing glasses.
This is the negotiation?
Yeah. And I'm like sitting there, and my poor sister, like she thought we'll go, it'll be chill. Like, it was anything but chill. There was like an active matchmaking. And there was even a priest just sitting there.
Being like, Shadi karwa do.
No, I'm telling you, people married that evening.
Oh my God.
I was like, it was surreal to be in New Jersey and to see that.
That is crazy.
That's what we are as people.
Crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. So I left that room. I was like, how do I say this to myself? This is not going to work. The market has spoken.
Yeah.
So as to say, the silence in the room was quite palpable. They don't want any of whatever this is.
So I'm going to go back.
Oh, and then the guy, when they call you on stage, they're like, what are your hobbies? Like, you could not, as an Indian woman in that setting, I probably listed the worst hobbies.
Like what?
Reading. No one wants a girl who reads.
Yeah.
In that setting.
Everyone wants a girl who cooks.
Who cooks. Or paint. Like, do one thing. Don't do 3. Don't freak the boy out.
Yeah.
Do one thing. Like, either paint or dance. Like, don't do it all.
Yeah.
But like, read. I remember saying I like to read, and like literally the 2 people who were looking up were like, we're out.
No. A girl who reads.
Yeah.
And then you decided to pursue law.
Yeah.
And that was that was a decision that, again, like women lawyers, Indian women lawyers, well read, obviously, times 100 to become a lawyer. How did you take that decision and then moved to New York, that's when I think your life really turned around. So if you could walk me through that bit.
So the thing is that if you're a good writer, as an Indian person, you're like law. If you can do math, you do accounting.
Yeah.
If you kind of like science, you become a doctor. Like the path seemed to be, I was always the reader, the writer.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the only real job that I ever thought of as a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it felt like the natural fit. And in hindsight, I know that there was some confusion even in the writing and reading, because I would write legal documents like notices to sue somebody, and I would get a call from opposing counsel saying, your notice is so funny. I'm like, I'm threatening to sue you. Did you read that?
Yeah.
And they're like, but it is so funny the way you've written it. So there was something in my writing, even back then, that was a standout feature. But I was like, I don't understand. These people should be crying when they receive a letter from me.
And they're laughing.
They're laughing.
Yeah.
I used to get emails from people saying, oh, we love reading your emails. I'm like, that is not the vibe I'm going for.
And your first job was in New York?
Yeah.
What was that like? And okay, this is so important because it's finally where you're getting that financial freedom and you're not living in that anxiety that, I can be cut off. And now I won't know whether I have this privilege tomorrow, because now the privilege is yours. Where kind of going out there into the world and to a city like New York. Was that a calculated decision that I want to move to this city?
Yeah, because so by then I was 21, 22. And I myself was like, you know what, my dad was right. No one's ever going to marry me. I'm already so old. All the things I had grown up hearing, those voices started becoming louder in my head.
Yeah.
And I was then found this reason to be stressed out about.
Correct.
So I started my searching. I was like, where do I have any likelihood of meeting an Indian guy? I was not going to happen in Cleveland, Ohio. There were so few Indians there at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Something tells me New York might be the move. It seems to be where all the desis go.
Yeah.
And that's how the decision was. And also there were a lot more law jobs.
Yeah. And what did it feel like getting that first paycheck?
I cried.
Yeah.
No, not tears of joy at all. I didn't know how much tax they cut. I completely miscalculated the whole thing. I rented an apartment based on a gross salary, not realizing that 40% of it would be gone. And when the thing, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to pay rent?
And then
there's going to be no money for food. I literally was weeping. I was like, where is it all gone? And the paycheck, the way it comes, it's like, it's just like all these SSRC, like the tax codes.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what it is, I'm like, who is SSRC? So I was freaked out.
Yeah.
I felt like every day there was a new thing freaking me out.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm going to have 3 roommates in my little shoebox, because how am I going to pay for this?
So how did you pay for it?
Well, the first few years were tough. My brothers, my sisters continued to help. Thank God for them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Should have just shout out to my brother and sister.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, they helped. And I found my feet a little bit.
Yeah.
Once I realized what was what, I started budgeting a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we're not going to go out to eat for a long time.
Yeah. It will be home food.
Yeah.
We will eat home food.
I'm going to learn to cook.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to come back to the cooking that people in an arranged setting had asked me about 100 times.
And now, in New York City, in the shoebox apartment, you have decided, now I will cook.
By the way, with a stove that doesn't work. Okay, so I was like, this is going to be challenging to cook without a stove, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Something will work.
I'm not complaining to my landlord because I can barely stay put here.
Yeah. And parallelly, what was happening in your personal life? Because I know that, like you mentioned, that this is always a looming question mark in a woman's life, especially an Indian woman's life, right? when are you getting married? I know that that question also crossed your mind because now you were out there, right?
Yeah.
So what was happening parallelly in your personal life?
So the few months before I left Cleveland,
Yeah.
I had, America Online was, I don't know if you're old enough to know what America Online was.
AOL.
AOL,
Yeah.
right? Was brand new.
Yeah.
And their slogan was "Open up your world," 1995
Yeah.
US dollars.
Yeah.
That was their big slogan.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to open up my world. This world needs to be opened up in Cleveland, Ohio. So I spent 1995, got an AOL account, and I was like, maybe I can look on the internet how Indian people are meeting,
Yeah.
to make a match.
Yeah.
And I found an Indian matchmaking site, like nothing that you've heard of today. It doesn't even exist. It was an HTML, like it's not what dating was today.
Yeah.
But there was a site back then. And I was like, oh my God, there are people meeting on this site.
Yeah.
So I put my ad out there in the best way that I knew from the world that I came from.
Yeah.
I was like, I should just put an ad out and
Yeah.
be like, my world is open.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Please enter my universe.
So, because I didn't know anything and any better, my ad was so batshit crazy.
What was it?
Because I came from a world of hardcore matchmaking. I was like, I'm looking for this, and you can't have that. It was like, literally, in hindsight, was batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to be brilliant. I'm very serious. I only want to get married. If you're looking to make friends, please don't email me. Because back then, the show Friends was very hot too.
Yeah.
And I was like, that show to me was a horror show. Because everybody was dating everybody and nobody was ever getting married for years. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they were dating each other, then they were dating the other group.
People, yeah.
It was like very crazy for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you want to be friends, I'm not your person. My ad was crazy. But what I know now is that back then I was actually one of the only, if not the only woman speaking for myself on that platform.
Yeah, because other people had their parents or their relatives right out there.
The women. The men pretty much spoke for themselves, but the women were all like my niece, my whatever. So my ad got a lot of attention just because I believe that all these men were just excited that they didn't have to jump over the hoop of somebody's relative.
Mother or father or aunt, uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then were you dating? Like, were you actively dating people?
I mean, I wouldn't use the word dating. I was very clinical about it. I was like, I would meet people and be like, okay, so, you want to get married, right? It was crazy. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's the arranged world that I came from. My dad would have had that conversation with somebody's dad. Your daughter wants to get married, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are you coming? You know how parents would talk like that.
Yeah.
So I saw my parents talk like that my whole life.
Yeah. Were you kind of being your own parent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody else there. But I didn't realize that in America, especially in a dating context, that's not how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably don't say what. So you want to get married, right? First
and then some of the guys would be like, we should get to know each other. I was like, that's what we're doing. We will get to know each other by 5. So
decide quick TikTok.
No, it was very clinical.
Yeah.
And things were not working out for one reason or another.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had to leave Cleveland, move to New York, improve my odds of meeting more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
And one of the responses to my ads, and I got hundreds, was a response where a guy said, are you real? Like, are you a real person?
Yeah.
So I was like, why would anybody question? To me, I was like, why would anybody question that? But he's like, your ad is so absurd, this can't be real.
Yeah.
Like, he really thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
So we stuck up a banter, and I was like, my ad was like, I'm seriously on a mission to get married.
Yeah. So people could be like, is this some kind of
a joke?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though it never crossed my mind that it could read like a joke.
Yeah.
So this guy emailed me from Switzerland, and he's like, are you real? And I was like, why are you emailing me? First of all, because my ad clearly says only email me if you want to get married.
Yeah.
And we kind of got into a little banter, and then he's like, I want to come to New York to meet you. I was like, I'm real. I have hundreds of responses. And I would send him all the responses. We struck up a friendship, even though I was determined not to make friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he came to New York, he's like, I want to really meet you. I'm like, why? For what? You don't want to get married. Why do you want to meet me for?
Yeah, then?
You know? And he's like, I just need to see that you actually exist because this is crazy.
He thought it was like a prank or
Yeah.
a joke. Yeah.
And then he started what you would call today trolling me.
Saying what?
Like who do you even think you are?
Yeah.
That you're going to get all of this?
Yeah.
And I was so crazy that I was like, and you must have a good mother because my mom's gone and I need to fix this. I was like, a random criteria I had come up with.
Yeah, like I'm being so honest about what I want that this is it.
But
yeah.
it was completely batshit crazy in hindsight. But
Yeah.
but he was like, I really need to meet you. And
How old were you at this point?
I was just about 22.
So did he flew down to New York?
Yeah, I said, you can meet me, but I only have time to meet you at the airport for a few minutes because as soon as I reached New York, I had dates lined up.
Wow.
With people I was going to meet in New York.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, we'll meet at the airport. And I said, yeah, we'll meet, but you don't want to, like, there's no marriage possibility here. So you do whatever meet, you need to see I'm real, come see I'm real. And then you do your thing and I do my thing. And then at the airport we met. It was very cordial, he was cute, but I was like, so what? He's cute. Like, he doesn't want to get married, so I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
And there he informed me that he had nowhere to go. He's like, I'm here with my toothbrush and my passport. I don't have anywhere to go. I was like, you're my problem now? I barely have space for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was a little like, literally, if you had to bring one thing on a long distance travel, the toothbrush is the one thing you don't think you're going to get wherever you go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't bring a change of clothes. I was like,
this guy's an idiot.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's like, I have nowhere to go. Now this Indian guy has flown from Switzerland. And I was like, okay, I take you with me, but you stay in the apartment, crash on my couch, and then leave as soon as you can figure out, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so he came with me to the shoebox that just got smaller because another person got added to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then?
And I had no intent. I was like, do your thing. You're here now. You can stay here
New
for
York
a day.
City.
Yeah, do your thing. I have my dates.
Yeah.
But I would go on dates that day and he would show up on the dates. It's like, hi, I'm Shalabh. I'm like, and the date would be like, is this your brother? I'm like, no. But how do you explain? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was very like, he was also very curious about what's happening.
Yeah.
He's like, is this real? Like, is the date real? Is this doctor guy real? Is this engineer actually showing up?
Yeah.
The whole thing. And, think 1997.
Yeah.
Online dating was not a thing.
Yeah.
Everything back then, your generation doesn't know it, but back then, if you did anything online, everybody's first response was like, but what if he's a serial killer?
Yeah.
Everything was like serial killer.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think a serial killer is responding to my ad about being brilliant and having a good mother.
Yeah.
I think I'm too much work for a serial killer.
Like,
there are easier targets out there. Don't come to me.
So now this human being is showing up at your dates, he's staying on your couch. How did it happen? How did you all fall in love?
I mean, we didn't, we were both young.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do you want? And he's like, I want to be your friend. I'm like, dude, you really can't read, can you?
Yeah.
And he was from IIT,
Yeah.
But it was a big thing in the world that he came from.
Yeah.
But in business family world in Bombay, it's not a thing for us.
Like IIT.
Like, it's not an aspiration that the Guju business families are like, I had never even heard of it.
Yeah.
And the world that he came from, that's what you're aiming for your life.
Yeah.
So everything I did, he's like, but I'm from IIT. I'm like, the third time you've said it, I don't know what you want me to do about it.
But I know also it came up in our research that you challenged him to an IQ quiz.
He challenged me.
Yeah. So
And then when I won, he's like, the quiz is rigged. He's still to this day, I mean, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
To this day, he can't get over the fact, like sometimes he'll be like, let's see who can solve this. And if I solve it, God forbid, he's like sullen like a baby. He can't believe it.
So how long was your courtship period? When did you decide to date? When did you decide to get married?
It was a few months. I mean, I told him, I said, listen, as much as I like you, the whole thing, very sweet and all, I need to settle my life. That word has been part of my life, my whole existence.
Yeah.
The settling concept.
Yeah.
It's such an Indian concept.
Yeah,
Like no
yeah.
one anywhere else in the world that I've lived in uses the word settle the way we do.
Yeah.
Because somehow if you're a woman, like, and it doesn't even end with marriage.
Yeah.
It's like then have a kid,
yeah.
where you're having the second kid, because everything is an aspect of settlement.
Yes.
But so even I was like, look, this is all very fun, but I need to settle my life. And at that point, I was very alone. 5 years of being alone.
Yeah.
5 years of taking loans and gifts from my brother, my sister. Like, I didn't want to be in that life.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a life I wanted.
Yeah.
It was really weighing on me. I wanted to move on. You know, I wanted to be a partner with somebody where it was us against the world.
How sweet. Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, yeah.
And somehow, somewhere, I think he felt the same way, even though he didn't articulate it.
Yeah.
Like when we hung out, it felt like us against the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So somehow the wheels started. But I told him, I said, I don't have endless money to like call you and switch. This is back then. Do you know what my phone bills were in thousands of dollars because he was in Switzerland. I was like, I can't afford all this.
Yeah.
And for him to come and all of that. So either we, you know, I said, I know you don't want to get married. This is not what you want. You need to move on with your life and I need to continue. And one day he just said, you know, he's like, why aren't we getting married? I'm like, you need to go be with the IIT.
Yeah.
You know, actually that day I remember I said ITI and he was so upset.
Like took away all credibility. I'm IT, like ITI.
You need somebody from ITI. And he's like...
And you all were 23 when you all decided to get married.
Not even. We got married before we turned 23. Yeah,
yeah.
that year I was wasting time.
Yeah.
You know, because I was like, he could change his mind and then what am I, you know what I mean? So I told him, I said, I'm not trying to rush you, but I don't want to be sitting around and waiting.
Yeah.
I want to start my life.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you all flew back to India and you actually met his parents for the first time at your wedding.
That's right. Yeah.
And that does not happen. In the Indian household, it's like earth has shattered. Yeah. Everybody is being consumed by whatever it is because this is disaster. Yeah. How was that experience?
Oh my God. My mother-in-law was such a drama queen. I remember we at the hotel where we were getting married, in the afternoon when nothing was happening, we were just like preparing, you know, for the wedding, for the evening. And I was wearing my glasses and walking around.
Yeah.
And apparently she didn't know I had glasses.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was news to be delivered.
Yeah.
You know, so I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
So when she saw me at the hotel, I remember her bursting out in tears. She's like, "Chashma bhi pehnti hai. मैं मैनेज कर लूंगी, मैं मैनेज कर लूंगी, ये भी मैनेज कर लूंगी." And I was like, what happened to her?
Why is she crying?
She's like, तुम्हारा कितना number है?
She's doing mental math for her future grandchildren.
Yeah.
And then you all both decided to move back into New York City and you were finally settled.
Yeah.
And then you said your life could really begin.
Yeah.
So you started building this life where obviously you were also working, but you as a family started having kids.
Yeah.
You had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And raising 3 kids in New York City is so, I can't even imagine how overwhelming. You spent how many years doing that? 15?
16
years.
16 years I was a stay-at-home mom. I quit my job. I couldn't figure out how to do it all together. We had no family in New York. It was very expensive to get any help. Not a lot of help, any help.
Yeah.
It made no sense. And I think this is a decision so many women make all the time.
Yeah.
Even men, but largely it's the women who end up giving up whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I did the same, you know, and I was home. Also, I was bad at law. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'll just stay at home.
Yeah.
I'll help my husband. I'll raise the kids.
Yeah.
So But 16 years of being home with the kids full time, I learned something. I'm really not that into them. It's like, this is not going as planned as I had planned.
Yeah.
This is not as romantic as they show in the movies.
Like that I love my
You know,
kids.
in the movies, they show the movie moms, like Jessica Alba is running in like a sexy pantsuit. And then she's like, she has one kid in one arm, one kid. Then she's like flipping over lettuce for dinner and like sipping wine while she's doing that was not, whatever is the opposite of that was my life. Big Costco tubs.
Yeah. Like 3 kids. Yeah.
Screaming, a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah. But somewhere in those 16 years, did you feel the need to be and to find your own independence, especially financially?
Oh my God, I was dying.
Yeah.
Dying. I couldn't believe for the second time in my life that this had what my, the first time when I wanted to study and I couldn't, I was in a state of disbelief. And the second time, I was like, I fought so hard to be independent.
Yeah.
And then where am I now?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Suddenly my whole life was the football class and the soccer class and the mommy and me stuff. And like, I'm not knocking anybody who loves it. If you love it and that's your thing, that's your thing. It was never my thing.
Yeah.
So I was just dying. My friends who know me from those years used to say, you're like a caged tiger.
Yeah.
Because I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find the way out. Like, I couldn't find a way. I knew there was something inside me waiting to come out, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
My daughter once was like, Mom, you're overthinking all of this. You just need to do comedy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not a job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I said, I need to work to have an income.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, Mom, comedy can make money. I'm like, psh. First of all, as a mother, when your kid says something, you're like, psh, what do you know?
Yeah.
So my first reaction was like, what do you know?
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, Mom, but my friends come over, they think you're so funny.
Your
and
family
whatever,
thinks
right?
you're funny.
Everybody had, but the funny thing. If the funny thing is another word that has been part of my life, but like if you're Indian and you're funny, like what do you do with that? When she said, Mom, no, actually in comedy you can make money, I was like, what does she know? But then the 3 kids ganged up on me. See, for 16 years, I made them do everything they didn't want to do. Try this class, try this food. So they were like, oh, is Mom too scared to try something new? So just to appease them, I went to an open mic. And I didn't even know what an open mic was. But just to come home and say that I've done it, I was like, let me just go and do this.
Yeah.
So I can come home and report to them how dumb they are.
Yeah.
And we can move on from this funny thing. And but the first open mic I went to, I didn't even know what an open mic was or what you do there.
Yeah.
The woman who ran it said, why don't you go on stage and talk about whatever you find is funny?
Yeah.
I was like, anything? And she's like, yeah, anything. So I was like, I went up there and started trashing my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Because like, who doesn't think that's funny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't find those jokes
Those
funny?
jokes funny. So I did like a 5-minute, like now I know a set.
Yeah.
About my mother-in-law and all the quirky things she said to me and can you believe and all of that. And like the audience was dying.
Yeah.
And I was standing there thinking, what is happening? Like I was like, white people do this?
Yeah.
Like this is a job? Like somebody could be paying me to do this?
Yeah.
I'll do it all day long. But that's when it started.
Yeah, but also I think we skipped over the part where your daughter wrote an essay for college, which was picked as the top 15, is it?
Top 5.
The top 5 college essays.
Yeah.
By a writer in the New York Times.
Yeah.
Where she said that when she spoke to you and told you should do comedy, you were torn between ambition and fear. And you said, I just can't. And then she collected everybody close to you who wrote little notes to you on your birthday. I believe it was your birthday.
That's right. Yeah.
And that kind of gave you the strength and the leap of faith to kind of take this step towards this show that happened. But most importantly, I think in this scenario, the fact that your daughter kind of nudged and edged you into such an important chapter in your life, not only just career-wise, but to fulfill you and to give you that lifelong yearning to be independent.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and it's so poetic.
Yeah.
How did you feel at that point?
I mean, my first reaction, you want to know?
Yeah.
When I saw the notes, I was really angry at her. I was like, what are you wasting your time on these notes? Now you lost 5 points on the SAT. She was also preparing for college at that time. I was like, why are you wasting time? But when I realized what she had done, she had reached out to people that went back 30 years into my life.
Yeah.
And said, send me a memory of my mom, knowing that almost everybody is going to say something about humor or funny and all. And then she rewrote all these notes, this whole elaborate thing. So to read 140 plus notes of people like, oh, remember this and remember that moment, I even to this day can't believe that I've had that impact and that humor can have that impact.
Yeah.
You know, when you tell somebody a really good joke,
yeah.
that person remembers that joke for years and retells it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something that it never occurred to me, the power of those things.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
So it was shocking. And of course, as a mom, I was upset. I was like, why are you wasting time? You know,
focus on your SATs.
Yeah, but when I saw it, I was like, if she's going to do all this and all the people I know and love have come together to say this, I have to give this a shot.
For them.
There's something here that, even though I didn't even then know that stand-up comedy was a job, I was like, there's something here that I have to dig and figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And
and I owe it to these people.
To everybody. And my daughter, most importantly.
Of course. You were 44 when you first began your career in comedy.
Yeah.
And today you're an established comedian. I think that it is so inspirational for not just women, but people to know that it can begin or it can happen anytime, right? And you find that calling, whether at 30 or whether at 44, but it will happen. So what has this journey been like? And are there moments where like, this is so surreal, I can't believe I'm opening for Kevin Hart?
I mean, there's so many, like, I can't believe that Bill Clinton watches my videos and tells me my jokes back.
Yeah.
The president of the United States is telling me that the 16-year-old son is more important. Because he's seen my joke.
Yeah, he's seen your videos.
It's like, you can't even prepare for a moment like that. And it is completely surreal. Like Kevin Hart, you know, he comes to the same clubs that I work in and he comes in, he's like, Indian mama, and he gives me a big hug. I love the guy. For decades, I watched everything he did. And now we're friendly? What? You know? But I believe that destiny brought me here for a reason. I really deeply believe that. I believe that brown women don't even know they have a right to laugh at certain things.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. Like, because I think brown male egos, sorry guys who are taping here, can be a little fragile. You know, fragile. Like, you make fun of your husbands, you make fun of your mother-in-law, you make fun of your religion, can get you in trouble. And as somebody who strongly believes in free speech and in women having the right to laugh at whatever they want, I really believe that I've been put in this position for a real reason.
Yeah.
It's not just it's not just that I'm a comedian. It's like I do what I do. Even though there are Indian comedians right now on the scene, right? You could probably count on one hand, if at all, who takes on their mother-in-law. Because culturally, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I got on stage and somebody asked me like, oh, you know, it's your birthday, it was my birthday and whatever. And they're like, what's your wish? And I was like, oh, I wish my mother-in-law was dead. The audience, you know, because brown people were not used to hearing things like that. Of course I was joking. It just fell out of my mouth. Even I was like,
I shouldn't have said that.
You know, no, listen, it was not meant that way. It's a joke. It's a complete, but we are so removed from that. But other cultures do it all the time. I mean, the Jewish people made mother-in-law, their entire TV series, there are movies. It's just we as a people have taken life, especially the burden on brown women to be serious all the time.
Yeah.
I now actively challenge it. Like, we have a right to laugh and whatever we want. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, and not so much even India. Think of all the surrounding countries.
Yeah.
Because my shows, I call them all the brown nations. When you come to my shows, it's people from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. When they see this, they see some version of themselves in it.
Yeah.
So think India is probably the most liberal.
Yeah.
Think how oppressed they are. I know people who watch my videos under the covers or in WhatsApp. They don't even like it or anything because they're scared that if their husband sees it,
they'll be like, you support this.
Yeah, like, oh, you supporting her.
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of anti-culture things she's saying.
Yeah.
So I really believe that I've been put in this position for a reason.
Yeah.
That I'm still discovering myself.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
it is. But I owe it to myself, to the people around me, to the people who support me to keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I need the money.
And how did it feel being that woman, that Indian woman, who was for the first time, not only independent, but carrying a family through?
Yeah. I can't say that it felt good. First, it felt like a relief that I'm able to do something.
You can.
That I can. That I'm not just going to sit in a corner and be like, oh my God,
what are we going to do?
There's no, oh my God. There was not even one day. It was always like, okay, this is how we're going to attack this.
Yeah.
I feel great that I was able to support my husband in a moment where, and it's not even like the money itself. It's him knowing that somebody had his back.
Yeah.
Because he's also alone. We were both two immigrants in New York trying to make a life. I'm guilty of women thinking, oh, but he's doing well.
Why do I?
Why am I responsible for my financial health? That is also an aspect of healthy living.
Yeah.
But why am I responsible? He's doing well. I've had that most of my married life, almost all of it, right?
Correct.
So I've been guilty of it myself, but it's wrong. We all have to take responsibility,
of course,
of our financial health, our financial futures, and be supportive of the family that we're creating. Now, obviously, for women, it's complicated because childbearing years are hard.
Yeah.
Like, somebody is going to have to give up something to raise these kids. Otherwise, how is it going to happen?
They're going to raise themselves.
They're not going to raise themselves, and they require that commitment. But because I was faced with that challenge a little bit later in my my kids were a little older, I was like, I can't. He's done it longer. Like, he's done it for so long.
No, I have.
And he didn't even say anything. The thing is that he's such a nice, decent man that he knew he was going to work it out. And touch wood, today it's all worked out. It's not like he came to me and said, can you go do this? But I owed it to myself.
Yeah.
To not be that victim.
Yeah.
And to show myself what I'm made of.
Yeah.
That why can I not go out there and fight for my family? My husband's done it for 25 years.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to do it, you know. Yeah. So it felt great. It was overwhelming, but it was great. And once I started seeing it as a gift, it became a gift.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Once you shift if you don't consider yourself a victim, you start seeing the gifts in it.
Correct.
If I had sat there and been like, oh my God, like this happened, I could have easily spiraled into a whole
other thing.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mary
like a damsel in distress.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was more like, okay, this is the universe saying to me, you are destined to create something big here.
Yeah.
And I remember that night, the one night when, you know, we were hit with like some really bad news as a family. And I was like, we're going to need to earn a lot of money and fast because my daughter's going to college. Like, it's expensive, all of these things. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to build the biggest South Asian comedy business in the world.
Wow.
And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show the world that it can be done, and nothing and nobody is going to stop me.
Yeah.
And that became my motto, that nothing and nobody is going to stop me.
Yeah.
I have auditioned for events, for jobs, for roles where I've crushed the audition and didn't get selected. For whatever reason, I don't even let it bother me anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know all these are just side things. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to stop me from my destiny.
It's ordained.
Yeah, it's ordained. And I'm
Yeah.
going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, I will fight whoever I need to. So it, like, in some ways, once that became the North Star of what I was doing, I was at peace.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what?
It's going to happen.
Whoever doesn't want to talk to me, whoever thinks they're a big deal,
Yeah.
whoever doesn't want me in their project, I'm cool.
It's ordained.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have this next segment where I'm going to show you old photos.
Okay.
And you're going to give me context to what was happening.
Okay,
in the image.
sure.
What about this?
Oh, of course. Because we're smiling and I'm pregnant, it's the first kid.
There's no way it's a second kid.
No. And by the third, we were like, what?
Yeah.
What happened again? Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a photo shoot in Times Square when my first headlining act at Caroline's on Broadway in Times Square was about to happen.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to do a shoot in Times Square.
Wow.
Because they were very excited that an Indian woman was going to headline for the first time. And like, we were just goofing off. I was like, what can I do to make it my own? So I took all my kitchen utensils to Times Square and I just started mixing as if I'm making something. And we shot a whole bunch of photos.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, I remember that one. It was stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. That's my family, my day job, yelling at all of them.
Making sure they're all alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the next segment is things Google doesn't know about you. So we're
Okay.
going to get into that.
Okay.
How many hours do you work every day? Every week?
Every week.
Yeah.
Oh, 18 hours a day. Do the math. I'm obsessive.
Yeah.
I'm completely obsessed.
I know. I feel you.
Yeah.
What's the last thing you do before going to bed?
Instagram. Because it's a big part of my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your favorite Indian comedian?
Veerdas.
How much do you charge for a show?
Like thousands, many tens of thousands for a private event. You know, it's a lot.
What's your comfort food?
Pizza.
If you could go back in time and not do something, what would it be?
This is going to be controversial. I don't know.
What?
If I could go back in time, I would not have spent 16 years being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I really feel a loss of those years.
Yeah.
I'm being completely honest. And again, not knocking the moms who love it and who want to do it, but it's a sacrifice of such a humongous magnitude that we just naturally expect women to make.
Yeah.
16 years is a long time of your working life.
Yeah.
And even though I'm doing well right now and touch wood and all of that, I'm up against youth. I have to swim so much harder against the current to get something done. That's the one thing to my daughter I say, I don't want you to give up your work.
Yeah.
Whatever brings you happiness and some money.
Yeah.
Okay, because like kids in America, they can be like, it's my passion. No. There can be no passions in anybody's life unless there's money attached.
Do your kids still think you're funny?
Yes, but they think they're funnier than me. Now everybody's become a comedian.
Yeah.
You know, they're always trying to improve my punchlines.
And you know, when you kind of see success in this huge, humongous way, right? Like your original script won the #1 script in America. You beat 11,000 scripts to actually establish that you're here. What was your mindset? Like, was it all, because you referenced something earlier. You said that your friend said you were a caged tiger. Was that the unleashing?
I mean, I think so. Even though that wasn't the plan,
Yeah.
I wrote a story straight out of my heart based on what I knew, based on my real life.
Yeah.
The fact that it resonated at this high level was, you know, all those years of there's something inside me,
It just burst
It just all came out
in that script.
in that script.
Wow.
I mean, I was up against previous Oscar winners.
Yeah.
Like people who write for a living.
Yeah, yeah.
And somehow my words on a piece of black and white paper made that impact.
Wow.
You know, these awards, they don't even know who's written what.
Yeah.
It's just you submit it and then it just goes where it goes. So to beat almost 12,000 screenplays, I was like, maybe this is what was inside me waiting to come out.
And it took 16 years, but it happened.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, something huge also happened very recently. You filmed for a 1-hour special that's streaming all over the world in like, I don't even know how many languages it's being dubbed. That is a career milestone that people go lifetimes without having.
Yeah.
When it happened to you, was it a sense of exactly what you said right before that, I will not be stopped? And was that the beginning of that the tone that is setting, right, for the rest of everything to flow?
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing and nobody will stop me. And I will keep making my own pathways.
Yeah.
So I filmed a 1-hour comedy special and I found out that the market for mother-in-law jokes is evergreen. There's always a need for it.
Yeah.
There's always a need to yell at your kids and find a way to monetize
These
that.
are universal themes.
These are universal themes.
Yeah.
So I have filmed a special and it will be streaming in 3 months worldwide and I'm so excited about it.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. It's overwhelming to even be in that position, but to hear it, I can't wait for the world to cheer. And just watching it and seeing you, and it's a victory for, I think, brown women everywhere.
I really hope that that's what it is because, you know, or they could hate me, in which case I'll blame my mother-in-law.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Or I'll blame my husband, you know.
Yeah.
You know, my people ask me all the time, what does your husband think about your job? And, you know, it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
No matter what you do,
Yeah.
especially in an Indian context or a brown woman context, but what does your husband think?
Yeah.
I'm like, he can't wait for me to become famous and get on TV so he can finally press the mute button on me.
Amazing. And last questions. A piece of advice to the Zarna who had just left her job to become a stay-at-home mom.
Don't do it. Should I not say that?
No, why? You should.
Because it feels like a knock, but it really is. Don't do it. In hindsight, I think for a woman to re-enter the workforce, I got lucky.
Yeah.
But the amount of energy and combustion that it takes to re-enter, I understand that sense of helplessness and hopelessness. I understand feeling like the world just went on without you.
Yeah.
Because when you're buried in those years of diapers and formula and babies and all, you feel like the world, you feel it physically, the world moving on without you.
Yeah.
And to come out from under those feelings and without therapists, because therapy is very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I considered therapy, and then when I found out how much it cost, I was like, no, it's going to be cheaper for me to work this out myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. But to come out from under that mountain, like, had I even kept working a little bit, somehow found something. Now, my husband would say there was no way to do it. There's no way to part-time some things.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I would have said, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Big thank you to social media that everybody has become self-obsessed.
Yeah.
It used to be 30 years ago that people were obsessed with their neighbor, their kids, their friend's daughter and what. Now I don't even know my friend's daughter's name because I'm so busy scrolling the comedians, the cooking shows, you know.
Yeah.
So I say to everybody, and I say it in real life, like, log kuch nahi kahenge because logon ko pata hi nahi hai that you are even alive.
Yeah. Like you're irrelevant.
Which is liberating. Yeah. Take all the shots, fail as many times as you want. Nobody knows nor cares.
And nobody will care beyond a minute. Yeah.
Exactly. If you fail and they realize next minute somebody else will fail.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like the biggest gift from the universe. You know, I tried so many things before comedy that didn't work. And I was like, nobody cared because this generation, and thank you to social media and Netflix, there's always something new to watch.
Yeah.
So who has the time?
Yeah.
That's great.
I know that this episode is going to inspire people, yes, but young girls, the youth, to actually go out there and do it. So thank you. Thank you for coming on my show, and namaste.
Thank you, and namaste. Thank you for having me.
If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Thank you all for being the best community, and I'll see you soon.
We launched without my association. We launched 6 months before not even 6, a couple of more months before I said, oh, this is, by the way, this is my brand.
Yeah.
We just launched purely based on product.
Yeah.
Filmmaking is a business and nobody's nailed filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it's always a constant push and pull. You're one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down. One day you got it, one day you've totally not got it. So that is just the nature of life and every business.